Twice Arsenal led tonight, and twice Crystal Palace found an equaliser and even had a late chance to win it at the Emirates. Let's get the view of Mikel Arteta with David Craig.
Yeah, we're disappointed with the results and with performance, I think. I think we never find enough consistency in actions to earn the right to completely dominate the game. We have periods of that, but then we start to give sloppy balls away. We drop the standards in certain defensive habits as well. And yeah, when you are not your best, but you are winning 2-1, obviously, you can give the ball away in the manner that we did it. It's part of football, and it cost us 2 points.
It's been an intense past week for you, starting in Madrid and then at Ipswich on Sunday and then 3 days later again tonight. Has that played a part in perhaps some of those errors and performance that you've alluded to tonight?
It can be very difficult. We will never know, but certainly the standards are required in the Premier League to diminish many aspects of the game that we should have done better today, weren't there. And then, yeah, the game is always in the air for the position to hurt you if they have the quality to deliver, and especially on the goal that they scored, the second one, they found that.
It's always difficult to find perfection, but there was a sense perhaps around the stadium tonight amongst fans and maybe sometimes the players that minds might be elsewhere. And would that be forgivable looking at what lies ahead for you?
No, because we require the consistency in the competition that we play to be at our best, and sometimes the opposition, and today I think they were very organised and they deserve the credit. But as well, we have to be critical with ourselves and look what we have to do much better.
I think it's fair to say that both William Saliba and David Raya have been brilliant at times for you this year, but did you get punished for errors, and are those the type of errors you have to rule out at the highest level?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's going to cost you points that we don't have, but they're a part of football. It's damaging, but I think that's part, and I think we have to accept when we play that those errors can happen.
It's a huge week that lies ahead. You have 6 days now. How do you go about that preparation and managing the expectation that is in this part of North London?
With massive enthusiasm, because we play the most important game of the season in 6 days, and we need to recover, get the energy back, and full focus on that game.
Just finally, has everyone come out all right? And the likes of Jorginho and even Kai Havertz have been mentioned as being potentially back involved. Have you any news or update on anything?
No, I haven't spoken to the medical staff, so no news.
Well done. Good luck.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure that enthusiasm and excitement will be back next week for, as he says, the biggest game of the season so far. But do you think, Theo, there is, as well as the frustration and disappointment, there is anger there as well from Mikel Arteta about how his side have failed to have that consistency that they needed, that they really needed to push Liverpool?
You could clearly see that, couldn't you? I mean, it's all I know is I don't think Mikel's not the type to get distracted by other games at all, but it was completely out of character. They spoke about performance. It was the patterns of play, everything wasn't there, it was too safe, too many mistakes.
Have we seen this too many times now? It's
no,
13 draws.
And this is what I'm saying about going into another game in bad habits, and he needs to get those bad habits out of the system, because like Jamie was saying, there's been too many draws, there's been too many mistakes by certain players, which you wouldn't expect in difficult situations. And the fixtures, you know, you can see there, the results. Look, it's been a bit indifferent, but that's what I'm talking about, the draws, and particularly the teams you're playing against as well, who you'd expect Arsenal to get points from, but this is going to have to change next year if they're going to want to win titles. You talk about, Jamie, you spoke about the point system, how many points to win the league. Nowhere near at the moment if they want to win the league, right, with points.
And do these drop points that we've seen consistently over these challenging few weeks and months, does that all play into this concern that for Arsenal, they still are going to have a bit of a headache before this season is out? Yes, they've got the Champions League games that will almost take care of themselves. There's still work to be done.
I think he'd be furious tonight, Mikel Arteta, because they'd be fine in terms of qualifying for the Champions League. The point being is, you want to put that to bed as early as you can. Now, when you look at the fixtures, I think they've got Bournemouth, which is not an easy game at home, but that's in between the two biggest games of the season. Now, if you win tonight, you can almost write the Bournemouth game off and you change the whole team. I don't think he's in a position to do that. because what comes next, Liverpool away. So if you put a really weakened team out against Bournemouth, which I think he would have wanted to do, to really go for this Champions League final, and you lose the game, and then you go to Anfield, and there's a good chance you're probably going to lose at Liverpool on the back of playing PSG. Liverpool are at home with a free week. If you lose the next 2 games, the others are a point or 2 behind you. And then you go and, I mean, you've got Newcastle.
And then Newcastle becomes a crunch game, doesn't it?
Exactly. So that's why I think he'd be furious. And that's why I think he went with his team as strong as he did at Ipswich. It's like, put this to bed now, and then we can concentrate on the 2 Paris Saint-Germain games, and we'll be fine. And they'll qualify for the Champions League next year, of course they will. But you just don't want that sort of thing. You know, you're looking behind, you're looking over your shoulder. I mean, I've just looked at the stats then. You can't believe when you look at obviously, the 6 points ahead of City. City have had an awful season by their standards. They've won the same amount of games in the Premier League. They've both won 18. You can't believe that. And that's when you just look at the numbers of the other teams there.
Do you think that's a realistic concern, given the evidence that the case that Jamie just made, that 1 or 2 of those could actually catch Arsenal? There's a possibility they could go past Arsenal.
Well, we're talking about Manchester City, who've been dominating the Premier League for many, many years and had a poor season, who could then end up ahead of Arsenal, which everyone expected whoever finished above City would win the league. And yeah, I think that's the disappointing things, because there's been certain situations in this season where, you know, there's been discipline issues, there's been, you know, referees' decisions, or whatever you want to see it, injuries as well plays its part. But it just shows there for me that certain players, obviously going back to Odegaard, starting to feel a bit comfortable and not being pushed a bit more. And there's a sense of that in some performances.
What about the goalkeeper tonight? Would that be a concern?
Well, the goalkeeper tonight, yeah, it was, again, a bit of indifferent, but I can't, you know, Raya's been absolutely fantastic for many times, because a period of times when he won't be on the ball at all, but he's always been very consistent. Tonight it was a few wobbles, but look, it's one of those, I think he's the type of character that would really put this to bed. I think as a goalkeeper you have to. If you make decisions like a poor error, you just need to forget about it, because otherwise you won't be able to play at the top level, and particularly for Arsenal Football Club. So for me, Raya, I'm not as bothered about. I'm just talking about other players in certain positions that will be too comfortable and need to be pushed.
I think just looking at that, I still think Mikel Arteta's got to be really brave in the Bournemouth game, and I think he does have to change the majority of the players, because Arsenal in the Champions League semi-final, a chance to win the champions, you've got to go for it.
Reality is, I'm not sure he can.
I know.
He had 4 players on the bench tonight. Never started a Premier League game.
The point I'm trying to make is, sometimes as a manager, you have to make a brave decision, and the likelihood is they'd still qualify for the Champions League. But as I said, he won't want it. It'll be in the back of his mind, or what do we do in the Bournemouth game? But you're that close to creating history for Arsenal. Never won the Champions League before. He has to go for it against PSG. And if he has to rest players in the middle, he has to do that, and then back himself in the next sort of 3 or 4 games to get the job done in terms of finishing in the top 5.
Jean-Philippe, only one place to start with that goal of yours tonight. First and foremost, just how aware were you where David Raya was when you took hold of the ball?
Yeah, first of all, when I started on the bench, I just watched the first half. It was very high, and when I came in the pitch, I knew if we win the ball high, I know it will be in his goal, you know, and I try, and I score.
Alan Smith, our co-commentator, described it as one of the very best goals of the Premier League season. Is that one of the very best goals that you've scored in your career?
Yeah, I think so. Yes, yeah.
Well, how aware were you that it was going in when you hit it? Did you know from the minute you hit it, it was on target?
No, I was scared the ball hit the crossbar, and I just wait until the end, and after the ball goes in, yeah, I was happy.
Big games ahead for both teams coming into this match tonight. At times, the game seemed a little bit pedestrian watching it from the sidelines. But in terms of performance tonight from Crystal Palace, how big was that performance in terms of your recent Premier League games?
Yeah, today we just stick on our plans. You know, we struggled for the last 3 games. I don't think we scored. Yeah, we scored, but we lose. And yeah, we just listen to the gaffer, and today. Was a good game for us.
You've played Champions League semi-finalists tonight. At the weekend, you play Champions League quarter-finalists. Is this the perfect way now to go into that game?
Yeah, I think we have confidence now, and hopefully we'll win this semi-final.
Just how big is the weekend for everybody, Jean-Philippe?
Yeah, it's a very good game for the fans, for us, for everybody, and yeah, I can't wait to be on Saturday.
14 goals for the season so far. How happy are you with your own form, particularly after such a serious injury as well?
Yeah, I'm very happy. I hope I will score a lot of more goals, and 14 goals is good, but I hope I will score much more.
I think you'll get a start after that goal, won't you, at the weekend?
Hopefully.
Listen, well done, Jean-Philippe. You are the player of the match. Take your trophy.
Thank you. I'm very happy. Thank you.
Good man.
I think maybe a little bit surprised to get it. He only had 5 touches in the game. His third one was that spectacular equaliser. But did we see in that little moment just how important he is as a player to Crystal Palace?
I think you get the sense he's a good character around the dressing room as well. I mean, it shocked him getting the player of the match. It really did. But look, when you create a goal like that, and what he's done off the back of the performance, you know, with the national team, it's been an incredible turnaround. It really has. But yeah, he's got this stature about him. They play so differently. They just play to their comfort when he's up front. Very different to Eddie Nketiah, but the goal itself was absolutely incredible. And I love the fact he said he was watching the game, because sometimes as a substitution, don't get me wrong, I've been there at times when you could be a bit upset if you're not starting, but look, he understands the process. He understands it's not about tonight. Mm-hmm. And he's always monitoring the game. And I think it's really important to actually that created that goal because he was focused on the bench, not on the pitch as well.
That was an intriguing little insight, wasn't it, Jamie? Because we were all of us asking where was David Raya in that moment. He had a really strong idea because he'd been observing from the sidelines.
Yeah, and I just want to highlight his position here, the goalkeeper. Now, we're going to see this more and more in terms of goalkeepers almost becoming, not just being good on the ball, but if you look at him, he's part of the back four there. Because I think that Kivior there has almost gone to left back, Lewis Skelly moves on. So this is almost trying to sort of get your extra man, if you like, in the build-up. And I think that's fine. You know, there's no real pressure on the ball. He can handle the ball, David Raya. That, for me, is fine. But that is where he sees him. He sees him now. He knows he's not in the goal. So where I do have a problem with David Raya is eventually when there's players around the ball. So still now, he's in that centre-back position. But as soon as Odegaard almost takes up that position there as another centre-back, and then Kivior becomes your left-back, I think you've just got to get back in goal.
Do you think it's because he's got so much confidence in Odegaard as a footballer?
Yeah, of course it is. And maybe it's this thing, you know, we're winning 2-1. It had a little bit of a feel of it, second half, maybe at Arsenal. Not so much he's thinking about other things, but it's just a little bit more lax than what it maybe would have been. But I think as soon as Saliba's got a player there to play with, the goalkeeper doesn't need to be there. A lot of the time, he's not in the positions he should be, which is between the lines. You know, I think he's, for not so much this season, I think he's had an average season, but before that, I was looking at him thinking he was almost on the level of Kevin De Bruyne, it felt to me, where he'd get the ball between the lines, he was threading things, everything was going through him. Felt like I was watching one of the best players in the Premier League. And we've done this, featured this heavily, I think, on Monday Night Football 2 or 3 times this season. He's always coming out the danger area. He's always coming into a central midfield position, an easy position for me, where he can make nice passes, look neat and tidy, but he's not actually hurting
if you're
anybody.
the opposition team, is that where you would want him, is actually amongst his back four rather than hurting you at the top of the pitch?
Of course, but I mean, he doesn't normally go that deep, and I don't want to be too critical because I've just seen that clip. There might be a reason why he was there that I'm not aware of, but in general, even when I'm watching them tonight and we've watched them all season, I feel like he's always on the outside of the game looking in when he should be in there. Maybe getting less touches, but actually in a position where he can get on the half-turn, he can play people through. I mean, you mentioned his goal return as well early on as well.
2 this season.
Yeah, for playing this position and as well, there's a lot of competition, you know, amongst the Premier League with the best talent, the number 10s. You would want more goals from him. You would. I get that, and I understand the point of he's that player that connects everyone, but he's got a player from Ranieri behind him who will push him at some point. And you spoke earlier about saying that a player will only so long stay on the bench. Ethan has probably sped up his process of challenging. And this is the point for me at the start of the season when Odegaard was injured. Ethan didn't play as much at all, but I'm getting a sense now that he's pushing him. And I think Martin Odegaard at some point will realise this, and he can't just rely on being the team captain as well. But look, I just think it's one of those where it was a disappointing performance, and we spoke about performance going into a big game next week. Mikel Arteta will be pulling his hair out of that one tonight.
But I think the point you make there about, I was surprised Ranieri didn't play. You know, Sterling played, he found it tough, he has done. But we were speaking off here, what you've just mentioned in terms of, sometimes the only problem Arsenal have got with Ranieri is he plays in the same position as the best player, which is Saka. And eventually you've got to find us, one of them's got to be the number 10, probably eventually. And I think for another 12 months, they can move that around, mix it around, give Ethan a few more games, a bit more game time. But eventually it's going to be like, I want to play. And I do think one of them is going to end up being that Odegaard position in the next sort of 18 months.
Well,